Okay, doke. Hello, everybody. This is live, and we are doing our usual live streams, but it's not actually our usual. You know why? Because it's codename Good Game. And if you don't remember what this is basically an opportunity to not only just interact like usual. I don't want to necessarily like brand it hardcore with that name, but it's just our new Friday night ritual where we get to talk about maybe roughly a half hour or so of some news, a big topic of the show, which we're going to talk about, have multiplayers ruined, helped, whatever, there with live service models and other things, battle passes and so on. Has that helped? A lot of you guys sent in stuff that maybe will help us gauge the answer to that. And having a nice, good game at the end, that especially is something different from our usual live streams. And you know what? Something else makes this show different. I had a very pleasant surprise when I reached out to a lot of people I would like on this show. And of course, one of the people I reached out to was the person that helped me start it all. He was also one of my first collabs ever. And seriously, this came together like earlier this week. And so I am joined today by the one and only Mr. Quest Mode, aka Josh Rooney, who I don't have on screen. But Josh, I think they can hear you. Say hello. There you go. Now you're on screen.
Yeah, it's good to be back. It's my first time back on your channel in a long time, and first time back on YouTube in general in probably over 2 years.
Dude.
So, yeah, it's good to be back. Thanks for asking, and always fun to chat video games. Still playing just as many video games as I always have, just haven't been covering them on YouTube. So, good to be back.
I was going to ask you that, like how, so, because this is Good Game, you know, we're going to have a little bit of banter and then get into stuff, and there's some send-ins that people sent that, one of them I'm really curious, like from you, Josh, because you and I, just off stream, I'm not kidding, guys, I legit was like, yay! Because, like, Josh can vouch, I was like setting up my stuff, but I couldn't help but get giddy, because I'm just like, you and I haven't talked. This is literally like us talking for the first time in a while right now. And I'm really excited about that and to talk about what you and I both love. So I don't know. First, like, you and I will hopefully have a general chit chat later, but is 2024 treating you good, or is anything, both life, gaming, whatever happened since? Like, I don't know.
I mean, 2024 is like pretty much, it was really busy for me for the first half with just like regular work stuff. So like my job just kept me super duper busy. So pretty boring stuff there. But I mean, that's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
You know, income is good. So, but yeah, I haven't been. I am still gaming, like I said, but like it's more like I got on like a platinum trophy kick on on PlayStation. So. Speaking of YouTube, I got into some of the YouTubers who do that and got into like trophy hunting. So that's been kind of what my gaming time has been spent in 2024. No like really hard platinums, but like I think the last game I played was I finally played Spider-Man 2, which was a great game. I got the itch to play Miles Morales again for the second time. I did, and then I didn't get enough Spider-Man, so I played Spider-Man 2, which I hadn't played before, and that was a lot of fun. I got like a PlayStation VR 2 last year, at the end of last year, so I played that. I played a few games on that, and lately another kick that I've been on. So back when I was young, like we're talking back in like the 90s, because I'm an old man pretty much. I played Magic the Gathering, and I got back into that. And so I've been playing some of that, which is, you know, pretty nerdy stuff, but a lot of fun. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to on the gaming front. And so yeah, 2024 has been good. I'm right now. I'm in one of those, like, I'm kind of in limbo. I haven't played anything for a week or two, and I'm having trouble deciding what I want to play next. Because I'm not really like, there's nothing coming out really right now that I want to play. And my backlog, like everyone, is so huge. What do I want to play? I don't know.
It never ends. Like, it never ends. Back in the day, we used to, like, hate video game delays, and nowadays I feel like we're kind of like,
Yeah, and
But
like the older you get, like just
for sure.
like when I was in high school.
Can I tell
younger,
you, I want to say like one of my favorite, it's literally like maybe a life-changing meme of the year for me, which was like, there was this meme of SpongeBob and Patrick, just SpongeBob show, and Squidward is looking out of his window and he's going like, just like he's looking at SpongeBob and Patrick having fun. And then it says like SpongeBob and Patrick are kids that have all the time in the world to play video games. And then it switches where Squidward is the kids looking at the adults going, like the adults are like all the money in the world to play video games. And it's like, that's a situation when you're a kid, you have all the time. When you're an adult, maybe you have the money, but not the time. So
yeah, and it used to be with it started for me on Steam, and I'm not a big Steam player or PC player, but I do have a Steam account. And I remember I used to get on when they had the sales like everyone, and you buy like 5 or 10 or however many games that are dirt cheap, and you only play one of them ever pretty much. And that's now the way it's become for me on like the PlayStation Store. Like I get on there like every 2 weeks, they kind of refresh their sales, and I get the notifications like this game from your wish list is on sale. And then I like load up, I get like 5 games for like $30 or $40.
Can I share a discovery with you?
Sure.
This year is the year that I learned what wish listing actually does.
Yeah, I mean, it's great.
I never knew. I never knew.
If you don't want your backlog to grow, never wish list anything. It will. It's good for games that are coming out. Like that's the companies want.
I do it for games that I'm like on the fence about. It's like I don't want to buy that full price, but if you have it like half off, then maybe I'll consider it, kind of a thing. But if it's a game that I want to play, then I'll figure it out. But yeah, and that's a whole part of what the main topic of the show is gonna be, which we're gonna do the news first, gang, and then we're gonna do topic of the show, which is like there's a reason why the topic of the show I thought of just especially just live service multiplayers and whatever, because they've become a different task than they once were, but I will leave that for a moment. But there was some neat send-ins we got, and I shout out to Supertone and Steffi, who are patrons, to which really quick, I want to shout out, thank you very much to high tier patrons like Capone, Steffi, Mads, Joey. There's a bunch of you guys that I could list that I just really appreciate all of your support for letting me do stuff like this. And if you want to support this, then feel free to do that. But for totally free, I have this method that another part of Good Game here is I want people to send stuff in. Like that's the reason why I'm bringing back this show is because I want people to have a nice little Friday night activity to end their week and start their weekend. Why did I choose Friday nights? Before we had Sunday mornings, but I chose Friday nights because some of us might be busy. There's maybe even like Josh, like there's going to be folks that might not be able to make it because it's a Friday night. But I want to find those that have a free Friday night, be an opportunity for them to have a neat conversation in the thing that they love most, and whether they can make it live or not. And for the folks that can't make it live, I made this option that you could send stuff in. For example, I wanted to read one that's like a great thing to kind of set up for both of us coming into this. Let me see if I can swap it on screen here, and then boop, there we go. So the question was, and in the form, I didn't have you can't see it, Josh, I'll read it to you, but on the form at first, I didn't have a spot that people could put their name for the shout out, so this is anonymous. But which announced game are you most excited for? And are you optimistic that it'll meet your expectations? I think it's a really good question. Josh, I don't know if one instantly comes to mind that you're like both excited about, but also like you have a lot of faith that it's going to work out. Like, is there anything that comes to mind for you on that?
Yeah, easily Indiana Jones for me.
You have faith.
Yes. Oh,
all right.
Have you ever played a Machine Games game? They're awesome. Like Wolfenstein, I guess I can only speak about the Wolfenstein games, but they are so good. I recently played the Old Blood, which is the DLC for Wolfenstein 1. And it's like, it's so clear that this is the right developer for that. Like, the second level in, you're like exploring a Nazi like dungeon tomb, and it feels like Indiana Jones, just way more violent. And I was playing that, and I was like, dude, they got the right developers for this game. And so the fact that they're doing it, I'm glad it's first person, because those are some of my right up there with Doom and Doom Eternal. Those are some of my favorite first person shooters. So I'm glad they're sticking with the first person. Indiana Jones, like, I'm an old, so I was back in the day. Indiana Jones was awesome when I was a kid, and so it, like, for me, it just hits all the right notes. They're focusing a lot on like puzzles and stuff in the game too, which I'm a huge fan of puzzles in games. So it's right up my alley. Honestly, the only downside for me with it, and this might sound bad, but like I do wish it was on PlayStation, because my Xbox crapped out last year, and so I don't have an Xbox anymore. So I'm gonna have to get a new one if I want to play that. And I don't play on PC, so yeah, that's the only downside.
You could stream it.
yeah, technically I might be able to stream it. That's right. Or I could sign up for PC Game Pass if I wanted to, but I prefer console. And there's so many games coming out for Xbox now that it would be worth it. Like,
I remember I was looking back at your Twitter, and I saw like a tweet that was like, "All right, Xbox, you convinced me to like replace my broken down guy."
Yeah, like that, and Avowed is another game on that list that comes to mind. And then the other one, whenever they show more of
Obsidian hasn't missed so far.
Yeah, I'm super excited about a Clockwork Revolution, but that I think is like potentially even a 2026 or beyond game.
Maybe, yeah. For me, like, Indiana Jones makes sense, and Machine Games makes sense. Perfect. That I have faith in, that I'm both excited about. I'm saying Astrobot. Freaking just regular Astrobot. I can't express how. And there's another question later on that actually has to do with that too, that I'll hit after we hit some news topics. But Astrobot, like, I loved the 4-hour experience that you get with the PlayStation 5. That's just included. And every little bit about that game is so much fun. And I was like, if this was like a full-blown 15-hour adventure, I would easily like, oh my God, I want this. And I have a very big fondness for the idea that 3D platformers just aren't dead. I don't want them to be dead. And so the fact that PlayStation was like, all right, Team Asobi, we will let you create a full-blown experience. Go for it. And from what I've heard, I haven't played anything but that 4-hour experience. But just basing it off of that and what I've heard about what that team has done before, I think I don't know if it's going to be a Game of the Year potential, because platformers, that's very rare that happens. But I think it's at least going to be an 8 or 9 out of 10 easily. But God, there's like 8 different solar systems and over 60 levels or whatever. Like, I need it. I think that's like the last thing. I think it's like the only game for my PS5 this year that I'm actually going to buy. But yeah, I'm stoked for that. And I have faith.
It might be my only day one purchase for PlayStation this year too. I'm right there with you. Like, I think it looks awesome. I played, Astro's Playroom. I did not play Rescue.
They're like VR stuff, I think.
Yeah, but I think that game looks awesome. I'm sure it's going to be excellent. So yeah, that's a great choice.
Yeah. I see Johan in the chat saying, I feel like Indiana Jones is going to slap. So, yeah. And there was a question I polled some people just to transition us to the news here, because let's get into that. But just a little curiosity question, because last week was a really, really nice week for releases to Game Pass. But I think the 3, I might be missing one. But the main 3 that was released last week that I was curious what you guys are playing was Dungeons of Hinterberg, Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn, and Kunitsu Gami, Path of the Goddess. And most of you guys are playing Flintlock, at least the people that are live in the chat voting on it. Josh, I don't know if you are hitting any of those 3. I am currently hitting Kunitsu Gami, and it is a Tony game. It is a real Tony game, because it's Pikmin, it's tower defense, a little bit of action, and believe it or not, the crazy thing that I realized, it's my first, I'm scared to tell you this, it's my first Capcom game I have played in over 10 years.
Dang. I mean,
I realized that when I booted it up, I see the Capcom logo, and I'm like, have I played any Capcom game?
No Resident Evil games?
No Resident Evil, no Monster Hunter, no Mega Man, no Street Fighter. It's nuts. So
Capcom knows what they're doing, man. They're on a tear, and they got some quality stuff there. I'm glad that this was well received because it's so different.
Yeah, it is really different. It really it reminds me of like a PS2 game. And what I mean by that is like, it doesn't feel like there isn't a significant story or anything. It just kind of focuses on making a video game, you know? And I can't explain it. It just feels like a PlayStation 2 game. But anyway, speaking of Capcom, maybe that's a good idea to transition us into what is the first news topic I will bring up just while we're on the subject of Capcom. Apparently, they are considering bringing back Megaman, and I will roll with me, chat. I'm going to try to be good on this stream with like having some things. If you're a podcast listener, then you will not see this. But basically, I have an article up from Capcom, which is titled, Capcom is considering how to make a new Mega Man game on an ongoing basis. And I need to say before this that Mega Man is a franchise that I'm not personally that attached to, but I still very much value franchises living on. You know, I don't want Mother/Earthbound to die. I don't want F-Zero to die. I want IP, especially IP that established brands, to hopefully live on. And the last Mega Man game we got was 2018. At least mainline Mega Man game. Was not a collection, not a revamp or whatever, but mainline new Mega Man game. That was 2018. So, in this article, you see that basically at the 45th ordinary general meeting of shareholders for Capcom, they basically established that Mega Man is one of its most high-valued IP. And a shareholder asked Capcom what its plans were for the Mega Man series, and they replied, Mega Man is one of our highly valued IPs, and we are considering how to create games for it on an ongoing basis. And they just say a fun fact here that the Mega Man franchise has in total sold over 41 million copies as of October 23rd. And Josh, I bring this up just because it's a topic that I don't know if you have too much to say on it, but I just find it hopeful because I don't want things to die. And I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, but maybe the question is, are you happy that Capcom at least is aware of Mega Man, or do you think maybe this is just something that they're knowing the public will hear of and are trying to just give us hope when there isn't any?
I'm glad to hear it. So Mega Man isn't a franchise where like, if you ask me what franchise would I want them to bring back, it's not the one that I would like jump to shout out, be like, bring Mega Man back. But yeah. I do find Mega Man to be an interesting IP because like I got into gaming. My first console was the NES. I mean, I was a little kid, but like the maybe 4 games that I remember playing on that all the time are like Super Mario, Metroid, Contra, and Mega Man. I mean, Mega Man was like a staple back in the day, even on the Super NES, if you played back then. And it seems
it's one of the reasons Capcom's around today.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah, it was a huge franchise for them. I mean, I think they made 6 of them for the NES, and then Mega Man X came out, and they were just all over the place. And then they just like seemed to stop making them. I think Mega Man was a game that didn't survive the transition when games went from like 2D to 3D. Because if you were around
right.
the PlayStation and the N64 came out, nobody wanted to play 2D games anymore. It's like make them 3D. And now that's obviously changed, and it seems like Mega Man just never recovered from that. And I don't really know why, because one of the cool I don't want to talk too long about it, but one of the cool things about Mega Man that I always liked is it had this unique thing that it did that I don't think any other games did, where you could choose the level that you wanted to play first, and which level you chose affected how the rest of the game went, because you would defeat the boss for that level. Oh, that's
sick.
And you'd get their weapon. And so you'd have to like defeat like Cutman, who had the scissors, and then like all of a sudden you had the scissors, and you could use those to beat this other
it's
boss.
Almost like maybe a little route to Metroidvania a little bit, you know? Because you would get their abilities that could affect the future levels or whatever, depending on what you have.
Totally,
Yeah.
and it really made it strategic how you went through each game and how you beat it. And I always thought that was cool. And I don't think any game has done that. And I'd be interested to see like how Capcom could bring that into kind of like modern gaming. But there's also the like
that really impacts replayability too.
Totally, yeah. It almost makes it feel like a roguelite. Like if you pick it wrong, you got to start over and do it again. So anyway, yeah, I'm excited for it. If they decide to do it, like I'll be very curious to see how it goes. I did not play. What was the last one? Like Megaman 10 or something like that.
They said Megaman 11 is what released in 2018. So yeah. Oh my gosh, was Megaman X? Because I remember that. I think that was for the PlayStation 2. No, what? Oh, I'm looking into this.
Yeah, I don't know when they stopped making like regular entries in the series, but whatever that one was, Mega Man 11, that must have been for PS4 and Xbox One.
Yeah. Oh my god, wait, Mega Man X. I need to know. Chat, when did Mega Man X come out? Take a guess. So the first one was released in 1993. Mega Man X Dive. No, that's not Mega Man X. I don't know. Anyways. Oh, well, actually, Mega Man X is like a whole other series of Mega Man. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. And also, those games are hard. All of them. Like,
yeah.
I think Mega Man 2...
The only Mega Mans I have played, I haven't beaten any of them.
Yeah, if you played Mega Man 1, good luck with that. But if you don't have save states or something. But Mega Man 2 is doable. Mega Man 3 is doable. But they are hard games. So it'd be cool if they bring back that challenge aspect of them, too.
Yeah. Steffi says 93. See, Steffi, that's what I saw, but was it the first? No, that's not the first. No way. Was that really 93? Oh my, I don't know. Maybe she's right. I believe it. Because Mega Man X is like a whole thing that they were following for a while. I don't know. Let us know if you know the answer. But next topic. Let me say another game that I find very, very promising this year. But I didn't want to pick it over Astrobot is because this game that I'm about to mention has had such a long road, and it's nuts the things that these developers have gone through. Some of them have even died, and this game was announced, I believe, July 2020, and here we are 4 years later, where it is about to release. I am talking about Stalker 2. And it was, and still kind of is, one of my most anticipated games this year, but we now know that the game is being delayed by 2 months, and I didn't want to bring this up just because of the delay, but I kind of want to talk about the bigger picture of what this delay, like where this game is going, and might that affect things. So just really quick on screen, you can see an update from the developer teams, the GSC Game World, and something that I like that they say is, first off, they say it gives us a chance to fix more unexpected anomalies, aka bugs. And that's something developers always need the extra time to hit if they can. But something that was brought up in, I believe this and elsewhere, is that last year the game was in a really weird state. Like the people that played it last year, I think it was at Gamescom, were really underwhelmed. And it just didn't live up to when they first showed it in 2021, which the showing it had in 2021, I thought was bomb. But I guess 2023, it wasn't looking that great. But when they played it this year, I forgot where, maybe it was at the Xbox Fan Fest or whatever, but people were like, okay, this is actually how this game looked in 2021. Like this, and that's something I felt too. Like I have a video about that. But the thing that I'm really curious about is that it is now going from September to November. It was supposed to release in September, which is a crazy month, and now it's being pushed to November, which isn't as crazy currently, in my opinion, but it's still in that period that Avowed is rumored to release. We still don't know when Indiana Jones is going to release. I am forgetting something else that is in November. Microsoft Flight Sim. Actually, which one?
Call of Duty, or is that October?
Oh, I think that's October. That's October, yeah. But even with just, let's say hypothetically Avowed does come out in November, Microsoft Flight Sim comes out in November. Let me know if you're watching live or replay what else comes out in November. I guess what I'm wondering is, do you think that November, I don't want to say hurts them, but it's also like, I have this problem with Xbox exclusives and first party stuff that they just keep getting bulked in the back half of the year. And I don't know why they keep doing this. Now, this is a second, third party studio doing exclusive for them, but still, I guess do you think November's fine, or maybe should it have been December, or do you think it'll get eaten up by these other games? Does it help that they're different? You know, Flight Sim and Avowed are totally different games than Stalker, so does that matter? Like, what do you think about that maybe first?
I don't really know. You know, Stalker is, I feel like a game that the people who played it loved it, and then everyone else has just
classic,
never played it, or some people have never even heard of it. Like, honestly, before Stalker 2 became a thing for Xbox, I was very unfamiliar with Stalker. And maybe that's because I'm a console gamer and it was big on PC, but so I don't know how much of a difference. I mean, it would make a difference if it was going up against like Indiana, if it was bookended by like Avowed on one weekend and then Stalker released, and then the next weekend Indiana Jones. Yes, I do think that would affect Stalker the most negatively of all three of those games.
This almost makes me wonder, when does Indiana Jones come out too?
Yeah, I mean, they haven't announced it, right? They just said 2024, right?
Yeah. Avowed and Indiana Jones still don't have a release date. So, and now they're just Towerborn, which is another exclusive / first party.
Yeah, and I don't know if getting out before, like back in the day, being released before Black Friday was a thing, when like physical copies were like how games were sold. Nowadays, I don't know if that's a thing. Like, so maybe late November could be good for a game like Stalker, where they would have like all of December to kind of, you know, sell copies and get people in the door, because not very many games release in December. So that could work, but I do think that and even with Indiana Jones, like if so Machine Games is developing that, so I'm pretty sure the game is going to be good. But
I want to clarify something, because I didn't say the date. It's November 20th, so yes, it is towards the end of November. Sorry.
Yeah, so I think that's good, if because I don't think very many other games are going to release like late November. We'll see. I could be wrong.
We'll
about
see.
That,
yeah.
But then like with Indiana Jones, like I like Indiana Jones, but do people even really care about that IP anymore? I don't know. And Avowed, that all depends on, like, if that game is good, I think it'll do well. If it's bad, it'll flop. Like, I think it's as simple as that for that game. Stalker 2.
Yeah, and Stalker 2, I believe, is supposed to be like an open world game too, so it might be a time sink, but I don't know.
Yeah, and Stalker 2, I feel like it could review really well and still just do poorly. For some reason, I just have a hunch it could be one of those games, which would suck, but...
yeah, one of those games that, like, this is a really good game, but not enough people are playing it, kind of a thing.
Yeah, kind of like Dishonored, like another immersive sim style game where, like, amazing game. Dishonored 2 is one of my favorite games of all time, but, like, for a number of reasons, I think the aesthetic and the gameplay just wasn't for everyone. It just didn't do well. And I feel like Stalker could fall into that same trap, which would, again, suck, but hopefully not.
For me on this, I'm glad that they get an extra 2 months to just polish it out, because I as we said earlier, delays are fine today in comparison to what they used to be. But this is one of those games that, like, I really, really hope the developers, like, just get to make the game they want. And that's another thing that the Post seems to say too, that, like, another reason they're doing this is because, like, they're so close to the game that they really envisioned being the thing that's out there. And as I said earlier, like, from playing it last year to playing it this year, people are really seeing the significant difference. So I don't know, like I got a buddy that's really excited for this game. I'm excited for it. I'm very curious about how many hours it takes to beat, but yeah. So, and November alone, like, if you're a Game Pass person, that's a lot. That's a lot to compete with time. That's the issue, is that to compete with our time as adults. And in that vein, another thing that we can just somehow transition right off of that is talking about another game that came to Game Pass that caused a lot of craziness for 2 years straight, I think. Between, like, Josh, you and I were actually in Code Good Game episodes when we talked about the whole just Activision Blizzard acquisition and just why is PlayStation just saying the stuff they're saying. Yeah, the head nod. Yeah. So, and after all those years, the acquisition closed and we haven't had anything for freaking months. Like 8 or 9 months of nothing except Diablo 4, but no day one, nothing. And the whole case that everybody kept fighting about was Call of Duty. But ladies and gentlemen, Call of Duty is finally on Game Pass as of this week. But just one of them. And that is something that I kind of want to talk about. It's not necessarily just Call of Duty being on Game Pass, but Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, which I get why they did this, because it's the newest multiplayer. It is the one that people will still be on until Black Ops 6 comes out and they can purchase battle passes or whatever. It makes sense business-wise. And I am glad that finally any Call of Duty is on Game Pass, but on a personal level, I want to say it bugs me a lot that they didn't drop at the least the trilogy. Just the whole trilogy of this Modern Warfare series, instead of making people jump in towards the end of it and having to skip, watch The Dark Knight Rises before you watch The Dark Knight, like that's the part of it that really bugs me. And I kind of wanted to just pick our brains and chat or comments about that. Is, I guess, do you think there's a strategy with this? And like for me, I'm just very annoyed how long this back catalog is taking to get onto Game Pass when they spent 2 years just making it happen. And then it's been like 8 months of nothing for us, the consumers, happening with it. So I don't know, just basically, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I do think, like, to your question, do I think there's a strategy behind it? I think that, like, the whoever's championing Game Pass at Xbox, which I have a feeling that would be Phil Spencer and maybe Sarah Bond and the people that work around them. Like, I have a feeling that they have what they would want to be on Game Pass, and then there's what the bean counters at Microsoft and the C-level people, like the CEOs at Microsoft, that they look at like, wait, this game is selling how much, and you want to give it away on Game Pass? Hell no.
Yeah. So
I have a feeling that might be what's going on. I have no, like, I literally don't know anybody who works at Microsoft, even the gaming industry, so I don't know anything. But
Josh, I thought you were an insider. What the hell?
No. So, like, it does seem weird. Like, it seems like if they really wanted to give Game Pass the best shot possible. I mean, there's a lot going on with Game Pass. They raised the price. They changed the tiers.
See, and that's what I was going to say. They just raised the price. And what a great move it would have been, which they have a habit of doing a bad thing, stepping on the rake, as Ryan McCaffrey would say, and then fixing it.
Yeah. They
could have fixed it by just going, here's Prototype, here's Tony Hawk, here's Call of Duty.
Yeah, it does seem to me like I don't think the ship has sailed yet, but it is an opportunity for them. It's like if they want to, again, give Game Pass the best shot for long-term success and give it a huge bump. It's like Call of Duty is on Game Pass, and it's like the whole backlog except for the latest one, which maybe that's the one in the higher tier. I don't know how they would do it, but like yeah, you don't want to give away the newest one. Like, that's going to be a big deal. But like every
that's what they're doing.
Yeah, or even if it's like
in October.
I don't play Warzone, so I don't know how that is attached to certain. I don't know if that's a totally separate download or if that's attached to certain Call of Duty games. I'm really not a Call of Duty player at all, as I'm making plainly obvious right now.
Me neither.
But nonetheless, like, if they can put the single player experiences like all on Game Pass, and then pick the multiplayers that they want to put on there that they don't. I mean, like they're all attached. Like the multiplayers, at least the way it used to work, outside of Warzone, because I know Warzone makes a ton of money for them. Put all that,
which
stuff
is maybe
on
why
Game
they
Pass,
did this. Maybe, yeah.
and just say like it's all there. It seems like that would move the needle for them. I don't think this is going to move the needle. I don't think there are like a ton of people out there being like, oh man, I'm going to sign up for Game Pass because Modern Warfare 3 is on Game Pass. Like, I just don't think that that's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be very curious to find out the numbers. Like I saw there's some Twitter account that's like, 10 million people moved from PlayStation over to Xbox in the past week. And I'm like, where's your facts on that? Because is that possible? Sure. But like, if anybody wanted to play Modern Warfare 3, I feel like they would have played it by now, kind of a thing. Yeah. And or they're like you and me, where it's like we haven't, but we're not that interested in diving into the multiplayer, so we want to just play the campaign, but we don't have 1 and 2 that we have played yet. So it's like I'm alienated. And then I literally put this on Twitter, and somebody's like, "Well, why don't you just buy 1 and 2?" And then I'm like, but that defeats the point. Like, if anything, put 1 and 2 on Game Pass and make 3 the one that's not on yet. like entice me by making me want the more instead of having to backtrack. I find it really weird. And there's this just method of potentially they're piecemealing out Activision instead of like how they dropped all 20 Bethesda things like within a week, Yeah. And I'm hearing like Crash Bandicoot's supposed to come in early August or something, which awesome. But yeah.
Yeah, like that back in the day. And again, maybe they had numbers that it didn't move the needle when they dropped every Bethesda game. But to me, that was a compelling. I already had Game Pass at the time, so it didn't matter to me as much. But like that was a compelling marketing argument that like
totally.
Wait, yesterday.
If you're a Bethesda fan, look at all these games you get.
Yeah, now like Doom Eternal, Dishonored 2,
Rage. Evil Within.
It's all there, but like all these games you can play them right now on Game Pass. Where now with Activision, and honestly, once you take away Call of Duty, I think Bethesda has a stronger or a more compelling library than Activision. To be honest, I mean, I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but like.
I don't know. I don't think it's a hot take. I have a feeling Activision's stuff is like much more appealing to the mainstream casual gamer, and the Bethesda stuff is more appealing to like the hardcore gamer. That's
probably true. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Like that's why they cost us so much, because they just have so much of the market, rather than like the game of the years, if you will. But you brought up an interesting point that like Johan, who's watching live, brings up, saying like, but you have to have Ultimate or PC Game Pass to get Black Ops 6 day one. It'll probably take a while for it to come to the lower tier Game Pass, which is a whole other thing that's foreshadowing the next thing I want to bring up. But like, this is maybe an example. Maybe this is another reason they did this that I just now thought of. I would like people to fact check me on this, but I think Modern Warfare 3 is a game that was added to the Game Pass standard, which is now a version of Game Pass that doesn't include day ones. Confusing shit, I know. But because this isn't like a brand new game, it's available to that. So maybe this is their way of like making people go, don't worry, like even if you're on standard, we still are going to be adding cool titles for you. You just don't get Black Ops 6 kind of a thing. Maybe that's the idea. I don't know, but
it is kind of like Call of Duty. This is an instance where it's kind of a victim of its own success as well, because so when the new ones come out, that is a huge deal if that's on Game Pass, which it is.
Totally.
On Game Pass Ultimate. Like that will probably get subscribers. Like I'm sure, but so many people play Call of Duty when it comes out that it's like, when they release it on Game Pass, how many people are like, "Oh, I haven't played that Call of Duty. I'm going to go play it on Game Pass now." Like, if you're a Call of Duty fan, you've probably played all of them. Like,
yeah, I'd say so. That's a good point. But there's a lot of Call of Duty fans out there. Like that's a whole other conversation of like how much would Call of Duty boost Game Pass or whatever, and we'll find out in October when that comes out. And I want to. I'm going to transition like off of that note. I want to transition to what is the next point, which is a lot of us were really confused about the moves that Xbox did earlier this month, which wasn't even 2 weeks ago, of just like, hey, it wasn't even necessarily the raising of Game Pass price, which I think like just the casual level of people were mad about. I think the more annoying part was just removing Game Pass console, turning it into standard, getting rid of day ones, and making it like every messaging that is played on Xbox Game Pass day one is now, it requires so much more context now because of the way that technically that's just an Ultimate and PC Game Pass. And so there is a new report apparently that there's even more tiers coming. So I'm going to pull up this article from Eurogamer, who's pretty much pulling off of, I believe, Jez Gordon, who works at Windows Central. This is on July 22nd from Matt Wales. And I'm just going to read this. So just weeks after the major shakeup with the Xbox Game Pass stuff, I'm going to be paraphrasing a lot of this. Apparently, there is additional subscription tiers in a bid to expand the service's reach, including a tier offering Game Pass catalog exclusively via cloud gaming, which I admit, if that is true, I am a little bit excited about that, but we'll get to why. So that comes from Jez Gordon at Windows Central. And apparently what he's saying is he claims to have heard from sources that Microsoft is working towards a cloud-only version that would be cheaper and more approachable than Game Pass Ultimate. The aim is said to be twofold, with Microsoft hoping the tier will appeal to those put off by the upfront cost of the console, as well as to existing owners of competing consoles who don't want to buy an Xbox, which would go with the whole Amazon Fire Stick strategy that they're trying out. And yeah, so that is cool. But furthermore, it seems that Microsoft's Xbox Game Pass Friends and Family Plan experiment, which we heard about a while ago, isn't dead either. Based on Gordon calls very tentative rumors. So that one's a bit more up in the air that they're testing. But, and one more, where is it? There's an ad tier that I believe is still in the works. I think I actually just saw it, but I never progressed it version play. Oh yeah, by the way, the family plan would enable up to 5 people to share Game Pass, so that's a thing. And then yes, Gordon said one initiative Microsoft had previously hinted at was considering an ad tier for Xbox Game Pass, but it isn't something it's actively working towards right now. So, a much cheaper tier for cloud, potentially a way that you could share it with a bunch of people. I think specifically Ultimate is what he said. And it sounds like they're not leaning towards doing it, but an ad tier that'll probably be the cheapest thing possible. I'm a little bit lost. Not lost, like it's options. Options are great for people usually. Is it too many options, Josh? Is it like, I guess if they do the cloud tier one, which I think it's a great idea, because if you're trying to do this deal with Samsung, with Amazon, you need a tier that doesn't require Ultimate to use that. You need to give people that cheap option that lets anybody just jump in and do the cloud thing. If that's your goal, that is perfect. But the ad tier, I don't know. I'm glad they are abandoning that, but is it just, I guess just what do you think about the cloud tier and maybe if it's all too much or whatever?
I actually don't think it's too much as long as they don't. So what makes it confusing to me on PlayStation Plus or Game Pass is when they have tiers that include different things. Like you have basically like a C tier, a B tier, and an A tier. And it's like, which comes with which and what benefits do I get? That gets confusing. With this, like a cloud tier, I get it's going to have to line up with one, or maybe they will have multiple tiers within the cloud tier. Then it might be getting to be too much. But like, I get what a cloud tier is. Okay, I can access Game Pass from my phone, or maybe my PC. Maybe it's I'm not quite sure how they'll do it, but I get what cloud like gaming is. You're streaming from the cloud and you're not downloading the games to your device. So I would think for me the use case would be on a phone with like a backbone or something, but who knows how
cloud would be so versatile. Like I see Steffi in the live chat saying, yeah, I agree. Cloud tier sounds very convenient for the smart TVs, and it's shocking that they haven't had this cloud tier option when they are rolling out these Amazon Fire Stick thingies. Like, they're making all these partnerships. If they're doing that, they need to make a cloud only tier. A good question that I'd be curious on everybody is, with the way they rolled out standard and changed what standard is, does the cloud tier include day ones? That I would be very curious about, because if it doesn't, then it's like, that would mean core, cloud, and standard do not include day ones. Ultimate and PC do. So that messaging of just play it day one on Game Pass is impossible. Like, it's gone.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for them to make it clear like what you get with what, but hopefully they can figure that out. But then the one thing I will say, I'm not excited about the ad tier. I do think financially for them it's a good idea. Like I've heard for like Netflix, for example, that their ad tier is just like taking off and doing really well for them. So, like, if they just need to learn how to, or if they just need to figure out how to make money, that might be a good idea. But I do not want ads creeping into my gaming space, and I feel like that's a bit of a gateway. Like, I would worry that if
it was free, what do you think about that? If it was free,
if it's free, that's a bit of a different scenario. I just feel like that, like, we've seen Ubisoft playing around with ads, like advertising their own games. Nonetheless, like, that's a bit different, but just like, I worry that one of these days it's going to be like ads are just going to be in games, because we see how they're trying to monetize them in any
I wonder how that would even
can.
work. Like, do you see like a 15-30 second commercial when you boot up your game? Like, I want to know. Like, I don't like the idea either, but I'm still kind of like curious how that would even roll out. Johan is saying like he doubts that they would roll out day ones into the cloud tier. My last question, I guess, about the cloud tier, which I think we're both in agreement that I think a lot of people would agree personally that the cloud tier is a good idea, especially with how much you are kind of making these partnerships. But if it didn't include day ones, you know, they just want it to be that Netflix option, but you're missing out the day ones. I guess, okay, there's two questions there. Does it have day one? And if it does or doesn't, how much should it cost? I think if it has day ones, 10. If it doesn't have day ones, 8? I don't know, though. Maybe the same price as PC Game Pass. Well, no, not the same price as PC Game Pass. I think it would be like a $3 difference, but I don't know. Maybe that's the last.
I mean, honestly, like, I'm sitting here, like, I was just talking about how my Xbox crapped out and I'm going to have to buy a new one.
Yeah.
And like, for like $10 a month, if I could sign up for my TV's like 5 years old. I don't know if it would be able to do it, but like, if I could, if say they have it and I can get Game Pass on my TV, I would do that. If it works as well as advertised, I would totally do that instead of spend another, you know, whatever, $250 on an Xbox Series S or $500 on a Series X. If I would just because I want to play Indiana Jones.
Yeah, and I think as long as you're not playing like fighters or shooters or whatever, like I've tried it and I think cloud works great personally. It definitely depends on your conditions, but yeah, I don't know. Like, I played Persona 3 Reload on cloud a lot this year. That was a perfect game for it because it was just like turn-based and everything. Yeah, but yeah, and I even tried Gami like on my phone with it. I was like, this is actually kind of working decent. So, but there is latency. So, I
played cloud gaming on with a backbone on my phone, and it was good for slow games. But yeah, it was not
right
for me. It wasn't good enough for anything. And you know,
like if you play Doom, hell no.
Yeah, no. So, no. But anyways, it's a good idea, and if they can beat kind of like first to market with it, like, good for them. You know, I think that's ultimately that's where gaming is going. So
yeah, I mean, we'll see. But my last thing I wanted to bring up that's just really going to transition us well to the topic of the show is some of that I don't know if Josh and I will both have. I don't know. Like, I'll be curious what we have to say on this, but I think it's an interesting point that PlayStation recently revealed Concord, and they bet a lot on it on their summer showcase by devoting like the first quarter of their presentation to this multiplayer game that is a hero shooter, and you have to pay $40 for it. I believe $40. Correct me if I'm wrong. And yeah, and just for them to devote like 10 minutes of a presentation to that, and people weren't that happy about it. Like, there's an actual thing, if you go to the trailer, in fact, maybe I can find it right now, that the like to dislike ratio is nuts on it. And then we get, I actually want to see if I can find it. Let's see. Yeah. Gameplay trailer. Okay, I can't see the ratio. But I did see some people posting the ratio was like nuts. But anyway, but what I think is really interesting is that people were able to play this game that PlayStation probably has spent like 100 to 200 million on by just acquiring the studio and funding it and just producing it and just owning the rights to it and the team that's behind it and everything. But now there's kind of an interesting thing that happened this past week. And that's that Marvel Rivals, which is another hero game, is apparently kicking its butt when it comes to player count. And folks are going to think like, okay, well, hold on. It's Marvel. Like, these characters are iconic. People know the IP. It's something that, you know, everybody will recognize. Very fair. Like, that is a super fair point. But there is a difference here where one, anybody can play right now. The other, only people that pre-ordered it can play. So I just want to show this article here. This is at Push Square. Marvel Rivals closed beta is putting Concord's player numbers into perspective. And I see Destin Legary posted this funny thing too, where it's like the Steam charts, aka players on Steam, they had 52,000 people on at once on Marvel Rivals for the playtest. That, again, only people that have pre-ordered the game can play Marvel Rivals, this playtest. Okay, so it's 52,000. And then apparently Concord peaked at like 2,400 players for the open beta. For the open beta that anybody, if you're on the fence, they had a closed beta, and that closed beta peaked at like 1,200 people. But then this open one, it just like doubled to like 2,400. And so I kind of just want to bring this up because I just wonder with PlayStation canceling the Last of Us game that was supposed to be a totally online experience, you know, by a very amazing team, Naughty Dog and everything. And they invested like billions upon billions while Microsoft was trying to acquire Activision Blizzard. PlayStation was acquiring all these live service multiplayer teams. And this is their next big bet on that. And Helldivers 2 did fantastic, which we might bring up in a moment. But Concord is not doing so well. And there's a lot of directions we could go with this. Like, what's the difference between Concord and Marvel Rivals? What's the difference between Concord and Helldivers 2? And, like, is PlayStation kind of screwed right now? What does Concord do? Like, there's so many directions we can go with this. Like, Josh, is there a question on your mind about this that maybe would be great to focus on? Or
I just think the thing with Concord that strikes me is it's another game, we've seen a number of them, that just completely chase trends and it doesn't see, now I haven't played it, so I don't know, and I'm not a hero shooter player either. I have only played Overwatch a few times. But it seems like it is so derivative of games that already exist and IP that already exists. It's like they didn't even try to hide the fact that this is Guardians of the Galaxy.
It's like, Guardians of the Galaxy meets Overwatch. There's no getting around it.
So it's like, that is not, if you want to make a quick buck, yeah, that might be a good way to do it, even though I don't even think this is going to do that. But if you want a sustainable game and IP that's going to make a lot of money over the long haul, like you need some original thinking there. Like you need to have something that's going to make people go like, "Oh, maybe I should play this instead of Overwatch." But if people are already great at Overwatch and they love that game, they love the characters, Blizzard has done an amazing job with the storytelling in that game. Like this isn't going to pull people over. Marvel, what is the Marvel?
Which
one
there was a
called?
neat concept of this game with the whole like every week we're gonna have a little 3 or 5 minute episode that you can watch to get attached to the characters. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
But
I forgot about that. But that's expensive. Like if they're gonna do that every week, like that's a lot of money they're investing into this, and it's like,
and this is not a free to play game, so it's like if they don't sell well, then can they do that? Like.
Yeah, and I'm drawing a blank on what the Marvel game is that just came out. You
Marvel Rivals.
Marvel Rivals, like
which
so
it isn't out yet. It's just like people were able to play it because they pre-ordered it. Like so many people pre-ordered it and are playing it.
Yeah,
and so again, like that makes sense because it's Marvel. They are super. Everybody knows Spider-Man. Everybody knows Iron Man, and so on.
Like they're literally taking like a dozen of the most popular IP in the world to make a game. People are going to play it, you know. So,
and maybe that's part of it is because people are already attached to these characters. Because I think with hero shooters, the most important thing is you have to be really into the characters. And if they are brand new characters, I do think one of the reasons people got so into Overwatch, and I think I'm not totally off base saying this, and anybody let me know if I'm wrong, but Overwatch like ushered in this hero shooter era. And I think a big part of that is because like every character in that game just seems like somebody, like what's their background, what's their lore. They each have like a fantastic Blizzard short to go with them, which if you haven't seen those shorts, watch them because they're amazing. And I think it's just that the characters in this, they don't seem not interesting, but there's nothing about them that pulls you in, you know? And maybe through these cinematics that they're talking about, sure. And then Marvel has like the big advantage of, hey, we're established characters. You know us. And in fact, we're even giving a different art style too. That's another thing that Marvel Rivals has going for it. It has a different art style than just kind of pulling them in a game. Like, no, we want to have destruction. We want to have them looking like they're coming out of Hades. Like literally. So I don't know, but I'm just really curious where PlayStation goes from here. Because this is something that they really are betting on. You know, like Naughty Dog canceled Last of Us Factions. They let Helldivers 2 come out, and it worked out. And I'm curious what they do with this. And does this affect things? You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think that with this game, I don't think is going to last. I think it'll be another story. Unfortunately, I hope I'm wrong, but in like a year, we're going to hear about how they're shutting the servers down. But yeah, for PlayStation in general, I do think that Jim Ryan, like he had a big
plan.
I can't blame him. Like look at the most successful live service games create multi-billion-dollar companies. Like Epic is one of the biggest. I mean, yeah, they have Unreal Engine, but like they are what they are because of Fortnite, and Blizzard, no doubt, is, you know, raking it in off of Overwatch, and there's a handful of those games out there, but there are so many more. You know, another one that comes to mind that Concord reminds me of is Foam Stars, which was another Sony.
Look,
exclusive.
I played Foam Stars. That was kind of fun.
but again, it was derivative of frickin' Splatoon, you know, and
yes.
Like, and
they came up with like a new concept from Splatoon, but it's like Splatoon meets hero shooter for sure. Yeah.
And like how many Ubisoft, like there was a Ubisoft game a few years ago that was like another failed attempt at a multiplayer game. Now they have X Defiance, so maybe that'll take off. But anyways, it's just this is something we've seen time and time again. These live service games that just crash and burn, you know.
And Steffi brings up a point where it's like, yes, we need more originality in games. Companies always invest in trends, sadly. This does. I think that's the thing about this game, is that it feels like, at least Concord, and Marvel Rivals potentially too, for sure. But Concord just definitely, it's one of those games that feels like it is definitely a trend chasing game. And because of that, it doesn't stand out necessarily. And it's what we're getting. This is another point. It's what we're getting in what is, in my opinion, a really slow PlayStation gen. And I especially am curious if you agree with this, because like you said earlier that Astrobot might be the only PlayStation game you buy this year. Whereas the PlayStation 4 days, it just felt like, let's just keep coming out with all these banger hits. And the first 2 years felt like that, I would argue, for PlayStation 5. But then ever since, what are we doing? Like, what are we getting? Except partnered stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do think that Sony's investment, or I should say PlayStation's investment in live service games is probably a reason why 2024 is so slow. I mean, that's what I'm getting at. Yep, I'm glad you nailed that. Yep. I don't think we would have gotten Factions this year even had it not got canceled, but I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that if Naughty Dog didn't work on that game ever, if they never started that project, maybe we'd be getting a Naughty Dog game in 2024, Like that's possible. Or if instead of 12 live service games, PlayStation had invested in 6, we might be getting another first-party PlayStation game this year, where right now it looks like it's pretty slow.
In that vein, I want to hit what is, to me, the topic of the show, because I intentionally wanted Concord to be the last thing, because I think it just perfectly transitions to... Josh, you are a single-player guy, I would argue, right?
Yes.
Yes. So I used to be a multiplayer guy. And so this might be a very interesting perspective to get both of us on. But I say used to because now I'm kind of all over the place. But I've been having this thought lately as I look at this story about Concord versus Marvel Rivals, as a longtime Halo fan, play Halo Infinite and see where it's like come from launch. I noticed this trend that I want to figure out, hopefully with the chat, and I have things that people have sent in to help contribute to this. What do multiplayers have to do to keep us coming back? Or maybe even not have to come back, but just play it and let it go. Like, it's a really open-ended debate. And the thing that made me think about this is I was playing Halo Infinite, and a game that I really do, like, I've loved it since launch. It just lacked content. But I noticed, like, for the past year or two, I just hop on it to just do these dailies. I do the dailies. I get especially with their past 2 operations, they have these things, SR points, which lets me get stuff in the shop or whatever. And I started to do the same with Fall Guys recently, which is another multiplayer I really love. And I got my kicks off of for like 2 or 3 years. But that was another game that I would hop on, do these dailies so I could get these outfits and everything. And it's starting to make me realize the finals too. The finals is another game I freaking adore, by the way. And it's just a fun game. What? Where you?
I was just going to say the finals is a great example, even though I didn't play it. But everything I saw about that game, it was original. Like, that game had its own.
It's so original. It's so original in the conversation of originality. But I bring up these 3 games because the thing that these daily challenges does make me do is hop on them. Admittedly, like, I have all these other things I want to play. It is the reason why Elden Ring took so long. It is the reason why Kunitsu Gami is taking so long, because I can't help but hop on and do the dailies. But when it occurred to me that I'm like, I'm not playing these though because they're fun. I'm playing these because I have to get these challenges in to get these cosmetics. I don't need those. And so it's like, it's just this, I guess it's a debate of what live service games are and what Concord's going to be facing, what Helldivers had. Helldivers 2 and Pal World are easily like the success stories of the year. And Pal World's an early access game that they're going to keep adding to, but it is a multiplayer survival, and Helldivers 2 is like great PvE game. But I would love, and I did reach out to people on Twitter that explained the reason Helldivers 2 is so successful is because it's like great gameplay. It's a great community game. We're all united doing something. And that sense of like, we're all working together on the same front to push the narrative of the multiplayer world that is this game forward, which sounds like such a cool idea. You're playing it for the community rather than just getting these cosmetics or challenges done. And so this is a long rant, but I guess I just wonder, like, how do we move on from the battle pass models? How do live services help? Because again, I think the part about live services that are great is that they bring us back to games sometimes. It gives us an excuse to hop on, if you will, if we've been missing it. But is that alone enough? I don't know, Josh. Like, you're a single player guy and you hear me talk about this, like,
yeah,
it's hard. I don't know if there's a clear answer, you know?
I have played some multiplayer, you know, and like, I do think it is interesting that the battle pass has lasted like so long as like the core way that these games are. They do. I mean, from my kind of outsider perspective, as far as multiplayer gaming, it seems like the battle pass serves two purposes. Like, it keeps you coming back, like, oh, I want to earn this thing, I want to get this thing, but then it also like monetizes the game, you know, for the at least for free to play games. But anyways, it's interesting, yeah, that first, like, the biggest games in the world haven't figured out another way to do it. And I mean, if it's making money for them, I guess why would they? But I think of Fortnite, which I have played, and like, I do think
Fortnite ushered it in, no question.
Yeah, and that is definitely more of like a casual game. Not that there aren't like hardcore Fortniters out there. Of course there are. But like, that game does such a good job of world building. Like, I don't like the term world building in video games. I think it's overused. But that game does it. Like, it has this world that you can go into 1 month, and if you leave Fortnite and you come back 6 months later, it's like totally different. They've done all these cool things to it, and I think that's one way to keep players engaged, but that takes such. I've got to imagine. I don't know how many developers are working on Fortnite, but it's a lot, you know. So like, to keep a world evolving like that is just such a big.
Here's another thing that maybe you can relate to, especially, is because I was thinking, like, what's some things that these live service models have robbed us? Like, who knows? Maybe instead of Last of Us Factions, we would have had Last of Us Part 3 announced by now. Maybe.
Yeah.
They devoted so much to it. Rocksteady. We got Suicide Squad instead of whatever the next Rocksteady game might have been. Like, that hurts to think about.
that one hurts especially because Rocksteady, I think, is now, as we know it, is gone forever. Or as
dude, that's that hurts.
I think that they announced that some of the founders or the original members of Rocksteady have gone on to make their own studio. So hopefully they do something cool. But like, yeah, I don't think we're ever going to get another Arkham game at least not as good as the old ones. Hopefully I'm wrong, but yeah, I definitely think that it's robbed us of some stuff. And like, we might not that this was like the best game ever, but like. The news came out after Hogwarts Legacy sold like 25 million copies or something, that they're like, yep, we're and after Suicide Squad failed, they're like, yep, we're leaning harder into live service games at WB. So it's like, does that mean that Hogwarts Legacy 2 is not going to happen? Like, that wouldn't break my heart, but like, I'm sure there are a lot of players out there who would.
I can't believe that was an announcement. Like, Hogwarts Legacy managed, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody knows, managed to outsell Call of Duty. They managed to outsell Call of Duty. and they see the critical reception for Suicide Squad and the player count for it too. And they go, let's keep this going. What?
It's because
that's so wild.
I am convinced that it is because I keep bringing it up. Let me know if there's another game that is just a cash cow like Fortnite, but I'm sure they look at Epic and they're just like, the amount of money that game makes versus even a game like Hogwarts Legacy is just, it probably dwarfs it, you know. And so
there's a prime example. It's the most classic example used, I think, where it's like, even for Blizzard, where way back in the day they did, you might have heard of this, where it's like they had DLC for StarCraft 2 or something that was like $20, And then they came out with like an outfit, I think, in Diablo or something. And the outfit in Diablo made like 10 times as much as the StarCraft DLC did.
I heard that.
And like, that's, I might have like mixed up some things. It was something along that line, but it's like, that's maybe an example, you know, like, and maybe that's why another part of this is free to play. Like free to play is a model that I don't know if I see Johan in the chat here, but like that is a fellow Halo fan like me. And I wonder, Halo Infinite now, like today, is amazing. But I wonder what it would have been like if it wasn't a free-to-play game. Would they have maybe wanted to hold off on it a bit longer? Would they have a totally different model in their shop? Would they, like just what would be different about that game? Did Halo Infinite, did a flagship IP from Xbox get really hurt by a free-to-play model? And I have friends that hopped into Fall Guys that they are totally new to the game. And they're like, how come all these outfits, like, they're so expensive and hard to get? I'm like, dude, when the game was $20, I got everything. Like, I was able to just bam, 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 get them all out. And that Diablo example I said maybe is the reason. And Fortnite maybe is another example of that. And it just, it made me miss when I would just hop on to, I keep using Halo as an example because it's what I'm most familiar with, but I'm sure many will remember Halo Reach, which was a game that you hop in that multiplayer and you had tons of armor to unlock by just playing the game. Whenever you would do a match, you would get a certain amount of credits, and those credits could be used to unlock the armor, and that was why you played the game. I even look at a very recent example. Josh, I don't know if you saw this anywhere on my Twitters or anything way back when, but did you hear about my crippling addiction to Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel?
No.
Yeah. I got very addicted to this game, Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. And it's because I thought it was fun. Like, I like Yu-Gi-Oh! And yes, there were daily challenges and everything, but I was just kind of like, that was the balance. It was the daily challenges were both the excuse for me to hop on this game that I have a lot of fun with, that I'm actually trying to be competitive with too. But it's also like doing these dailies helps me unlock the ability to do stuff in the shop. I never had to put a single dime into this multiplayer at all. But I was able to use the same currency that you would, if you put in $10, you get 1,000 gems. I got those 1,000 gems by just playing the game. That's insane. That's a concept that doesn't exist anymore. And like that's something that I think that's my answer. If there was an answer, like what did they do? They have to figure out a way to make players just be able to play the game whenever they want. Halo Infinite, if I hop on once and do one match, I get these amount of points, and then I'm not allowed to earn any more of those points for the rest of the day. That's stupid. It's better than it was before. It gives us reasons to hop on, but players need to be rewarded for just playing the game when they feel like it. And yeah.
Sorry, I was like one thing. So I mentioned that I've been playing Magic the Gathering, and I have been
That's
playing.
right.
They have it's called MTG Arena, is their free to play video game basically version of the game, and I've been playing that, and it's the same. It has like dailies, and it has limits to how much gold you can earn. And then there's gold which you earn in the game, but then there's gems which there's only certain things you can buy with gems, and the only way to get gems is to pay cash, or to pay actual money. So like that sucks.
So, and that's the only yeah.
But I will say,
see, and that's a way I got addicted to Clash of Clans. Like that's a mobile game, but I played that to hell. But I could actually get those same gems you're talking about, but just playing the game. Just playing the game.
and so I can play MTG Arena enough every day that I'm satisfied, but I imagine like if you're a hardcore player and you play for like hours a day, you can't not spend money on that game. Like you pretty much have to. So that sucks. But before I forget, one other, you asked what have maybe live service games robbed us of. I would argue that BioWare, that we were robbed of BioWare.
Oh dude. That's a good one.
EA turned that studio into a live service developer.
I mean, it was just for one game, though. Granted,
but like, I mean, BioWare is not what it used to be anymore. I mean, I guess you could say they shot.
That's a lot of studios now.
They did have Andromeda, which was maybe their own undoing, but like, with Anthem. Anyways, we'll see. Maybe they'll turn it around. We got Dragon Age coming up, so.
I want to bring up something that, like, this is part of the... I'm going to read off some ideas that people... What I asked the audience, basically, is what are some games that either lost you or kept you around in terms of, like, a live service model, maybe? And, you know, what made it lose you or keep you? And I just want to show like some responses here that I'll read out loud. Like this is from an anonymous one, but somebody said Destiny 2 had me going for a while until I realized how much I was spending. Some of these new free multiplayer games have a lot more substance with less of a price tag, even if you buy cosmetics. Destiny 2 is a good shout out. I was excited to see some people bring up Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2, they have major orders, which are community-driven events, which... That's what I was saying. Like, community-driven events are bomb. Then daily orders, which are player-focused missions, getting a certain amount of kills with a specific weapon. That I don't like the sound of. But both will earn you medals, which you can only use to unlock gear and equipment in the battle passes if you have one active. However, they recently, in the past month or so, added a cap to how many medals you could earn, which sucks. That does suck. But kept the end mission notifications, leading to a giant banner across your screen reading, "Order complete. You earn 0 medals." You earned 0 medals. That sucks. Like, they had it figured out, and then they kind of changed that up. I heard my buddy talk about that. Another person, I won't read all these maybe, but I just want to get some of them in. I used to play Apex. Okay. I used to play Apex Legends, Fall Guys, and Halo Infinite. Initially, what kept me coming back was simply playing with my friends and having a good time. I wasn't really a competitive player, so collecting cosmetics and having fun was the goal. What didn't help keep me around was partially life getting busy, but also how sweaty the games get as you progress. I'd love to pick up an anytime game that wasn't always the case here. In other cases, I felt some games didn't renew or release new content enough, but I'd say that's more so because of how fast life gets. No judgment on the game devs. And so there could definitely be life things too, but I do... I like... Where's Steffi? Oh, somebody else. Party Animals. See, Party Animals is a prime example of a game that, like... And I want to play this with you, Josh, actually. But it's just like a fun party game. That's all it is. It's just a very fun party game that you can just laugh, shits, giggle, whatever. And they do have a battle pass system or whatever that you just unlock new outfits. But it's a game that... I think I put Party Animals with Sea of Thieves as two games that, like, I have so much fun playing, but I'm not attached to the battle passes. And maybe that's the answer. Like, maybe it's on us to just let it go. You know, like, just play it for fun.
I mean, I've wanted to play Sea of Thieves. That's actually a game I would love to try out. And they seem like they do a pretty good job of like doing new stuff, introducing new content.
Every season is such a good update. Yeah. Like,
that's a game I'd be... The only reason I haven't really dived into it, pardon the pun, is it seems like it's more PvP than PvE than I would like, but I don't know if that's true. Maybe that's just my own perception.
It could be either or, definitely. Like I have a buddy that whenever we play, he's just like, "Hey, I see another player ship, like 3 miles out, whatever," and then we're just like, "All right, let's run." You know, like, we don't bother, but if we wanted to, we could. So yeah, it kind of is a choose your own experience type deal.
But really good world building, you know, when they introduced new, like, every time, like when they did the was it Monkey Island? Didn't they do a Monkey Island thing recently?
Yes. Yes, they did.
That was tempting to me. I kind of wanted to get in and check it out.
It's pretty slow, I will say that. I want to shout out one more from Steffi, who is a very big, basically sponsor to everything I do. Thank you very much, madam. She brings up Sky Children, which Josh, have you ever heard of Sky Children?
No.
Yeah, it's by the people that did Journey, but it's their live service game. Yeah,
I've seen it on some people's like, I don't know if it's on PlayStation or where I've seen it, but there's someone on a friends list that I have somewhere who's always playing that game.
That's
where I heard of it.
But she brings up it has kept me engaged. Sky Children of Light, sorry, has kept me engaged for the past 5 years because of its seasonal events. I love how the events don't just introduce new cosmetics to unlock, but new experiences to have through exploring a new location, meeting new spirits, or trying out a new function in the game. It's an MMO filled with many opportunities to be social with other players, but the open world itself is so beautiful, expansive, and ever-changing to keep me coming back to explore on my own. Also, I have much respect for the game developers' persistence in finding creative ways to reunite the players, like their world record-breaking virtual concert with Aurora, which I went to with her, and that was awesome. I agree. And recently, the game started a virtual festival along with the start of Skyfest in Japan with virtual panels to visit. You straight up can have conventions in this game, but
I gotta check that out. That sounds awesome.
It is like, I have to admit, like, it's not a game that keeps me gripped, but in terms of like just being social, it is like very high. Like, but it's a game that you kind of just literally just vibe out in clouds, kind of a thing. Okay. But yeah, but I don't know. It's a never ending debate, and this is why I did a whole video talking about, like, I kind of hope 343, the people that make Halo, their direction is we'll just make campaigns going forward, and we'll have another team doing multiplayer. But and Naughty Dog's acknowledging it too. They're like, hey, we saw how much it would cost to keep factions going, and we don't want to do that. So I think people are learning, but I don't know. I don't know where it's going to go.
One interesting thing I'll bring up is so I used to play, actually, this is the multiplayer game I've gotten the most into, was League of Legends, and this was back in 2016. Long time ago, but I got really into that for like a year, and that game was, you could play that game for however long you wanted back then. I don't know if it's changed, but well, I'm sure it has, but like, you didn't have to spend a dime on it. It was all cosmetics. There were so many heroes you could play, champions, I guess they call them. And the gameplay was so deep. It was a never-ending, a bottomless well of content, basically, if you were into that game. And I think what's cool now, what they're doing is, I don't know if you've seen, but on PlayStation and Xbox, and I'm sure PC, Riot Games have started developing separate games in totally different genres that star the champions from League of Legends. So there's one, I think, called Transference, I want to say, that's like a Metroidvania. There's another one that's like a top-down Zelda-esque like action adventure, and then there's another one that's like a fully 3D kind of like Zelda-style adventure. I don't think the gameplay is as good as any of those games I compared them to, but they're good games. They're getting decent reviews.
Yeah.
So they're just taking their characters from League of Legends and building new games based on them. I don't know how well that's working for them. I don't know if they're selling copies of those games, but I think that's really interesting. That was how they decided to expand the world of League of Legends at Riot Games. I thought that was kind of cool.
There is another thing that I wanted to show here. That was the last thing I forgot to bring up. That the Warframe, because I see Paragon in the chat saying like, short answer, no. Warframe shows that a live service game can exist for 10 years and be beloved. Warframe is a very fine example. I have heard from many people Warframe is a fantastic example of a live service game. I don't know why, but I've heard that many times. And it's interesting because speaking of that, like, the Warframe boss apparently said, like, publishers eject too soon from live service games. I have an article on screen that basically says it, but he says, like, they think the release is make it or break it, and it's not. They have a financial way to be persistent, and they never do it. It comes out, doesn't work, and they throw it away. That very well could be what happens to Concord and a lot of other things, and it's a good point. Like some games, I know people that freaking love the WrestleMania live service one, and they bailed on that within like a year of it coming out. And Sea of Thieves is actually my favorite example of a game that, like, when it launched, people were like, this is cool, but there's nothing to do. And now it's like, I don't know, but it's like in Xbox's top 5 best probably money machines. Who knows?
Yeah. Didn't Rainbow Six Siege also launch to pretty kind of dismal reviews?
I'm not sure.
They hung with it, and then another one.
Dude, if that's true, Rainbow Six Siege is a great example. If that's true.
Well, I don't know if it launched to like dismal reviews, but I don't think it had a stellar launch, and now it's one of the biggest games in the world. And then
period.
Another Ubisoft joint was For Honor. Was not a big deal, but that quietly has just lasted. I don't know if it's still going, but that did not fizzle out. They supported that game and kept it going, and so yeah, I think that, or I don't know if I would put this in live service, but No Man's Sky, like that's another one.
That's that's a great one to bet. I would say ever evolving. Yeah, I would say so.
How could we forget? Like Final Fantasy 14 had one of the worst
Final
launches
Fantasy 14
ever, and now it is literally probably next to World of Warcraft, like the biggest MMO ever made. You know?
Yeah. So it's like it is possible that like live service games that didn't launch great can make a comeback, and that's maybe very hard to do. Who knows what it takes? But as a lot of people submitted in answers, I think the things and what I learned from my Twitter about Helldivers is just 3 things. I would say if it boils down to have some really fun content for players to engage with all the time. If it is a live service, make sure when you do update the game, there is a really nice reason to bring people back. And finally, have a game that people can just play and be rewarded. If they get like capped or they are required to spend money, give them a reason to just enjoy the game that they enjoy. If you do all 3 of those, I think live service can work. But we'll see if other companies learn that and what happens in the future. Okay. Shit, I should have just made this whole show about that. That's why I said it was topic of the show, because I knew it's like, oh man, what do we? There's so much to say about it. I have some couple questions, and then Josh, we finally get to play a good game. It's been so long, but I do want to shout out some write-ins here if I can pull them up. So just some quick questions to address, with the first one being, if I can put this on, there we go. Joey Strike, another patron, he says, could a platformer renaissance be brewing? With Astrobot coming soon, with high expectations, and the overall demand for 3D platformers increasing, could we be seeing the birth of a new age for this genre? I hope so. I really, really hope so, because I don't want that genre to die. I have a whole video in like 2021. Steffi says, I hope so. And it's just, I think it's the reason why I'm so stoked for Astrobot, because from PlayStation and Xbox specifically, even a lot of third-party people, they don't bother. They don't bother to make these platformers. It's like only Nintendo. So I don't know if we're in a renaissance. I think it just depends, because sales is what matters most. Platformers aren't live service games, but I don't know. Josh, do you think we're kind of like far off from that? I don't want to spend too much time on these. I'm just quick answers.
I don't think it would be a renaissance that we're in, but I don't think the genre's dead. I think indies have also helped keep it alive. Play Tinykin if you haven't.
Indies have helped so much. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's some others as well, but I will say that I'd be shocked if we didn't get a 3D Mario next year with the Switch, whenever that comes out.
Launch title. Oh my gosh.
But
again, that's Nintendo, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's why I want to see Xbox do something with Banjo-Kazooie already. I really do. And I was sad to see Toys for Bob go, but I'm glad they have a partnership with them. So
yeah, I do think we're probably going to get a Spyro from them, and then another.
I think so too.
Popped out of my head real quick. There was another 3D platformer that I think is on the way. But yeah, the genre is not dead. But whether we're in a renaissance, I don't know. But I don't think the genre is going to go anywhere.
And one more in that I was going to have 3 of these, but I just want to shout out 2 of these and then do our good game. But Steffi, again, top tier patron, thank you very much for your support, madame. She says, in your opinion, Do you think the new generation lacks in new IPs compared to previous generations? Or does it just seem like it? Josh was nodding your head. And he didn't have you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like IP is king. So if you have a success, you're going to get sequels to it, and I feel like that kind of drowns out the new IPs. But I think, again, like if you're looking at indies, like the new IPs, but just like original content is out there if you want to find it. But in terms of big budget AAA games, absolutely, I think that it's hard.
I'm trying to think about this now. Like, yeah. We definitely have a lot of sequelitis happening. Like, it was nice to see Bethesda release something new with Starfield and everything. It still very much felt like a Bethesda game, though. We see, PlayStation backing Concord so much. They were hoping it was a money cow. I would say overall...
Starfield was a new IP, so they're not...
They're not... Yeah, and I think I will give Xbox some backing. I know I'm an Xbox guy, but it's true, like... At least I hope this continues, but I like seeing, these little other projects with Pentiment and Grounded and so on, and just and funding things like Towerborn and As Dusk Falls, like just these other ideas for projects that just like, hey, we just want to make this thing not connected to anything, so I think they still exist, but in terms of like a big new AAA IP, I feel like Horizon Zero Dawn is like the last time something like that happened. Oh, Ghost of Tsushima, maybe. Ghost of Tsushima has some real potential, actually. That's another good one.
Like, I was thinking of Kojima. Like, Death Stranding was a new IP, and I'm sure whatever his next project is, whatever this like Fizzant, I think is what they're calling it right now, and then he's got this like new Metal Gear-esque thing he's working on. Like, that's why Kojima does bother me sometimes, but like he is original, and he will come out with stuff that isn't like new all the time. I think the last thing he wants is to work on like old IPs. So like having people like that in the industry who just are just incredibly creative and want to come up with new stuff all the time. I feel like we should celebrate people like that, even if he is super pretentious.
Yeah, folks. I see Paragon saying or revivals like Perfect Dark, but that would be revivals. Paragon, that's not necessarily new IP. Like I'm totally okay with old IP living on. I said earlier how I want that for Megaman. That excites me. It is nice when we get to see new stuff, and there are some studios that I think will do that. Like I think Double Fine will be a good one to do that. It seems like Insomniac probably not now. They're kind of stuck in established IP or whatever. Potentially, we'll see. But like, I don't know. Like, I think there is hope, and I'm totally okay with, big IP living on and everything. But at the least, yes, I do hope old IP also get acknowledged as well if we're not going to make new ones. So, and that being Perfect Dark's a good example. Yeah,
Perfect Dark looks awesome.
Dude, when I saw that, I totally thought of you. I think it's even my reaction. I'm like, oh, Questmode's going to love it.
Yeah, the game looks really good.
Yeah.
But what bothers me, especially on the PlayStation side, not so much the Xbox side, is that they have like major sequelitis. So like probably 5 out of the 6 next first party games for PlayStation will be sequels. But they're also falling into the same kind of gameplay formula. So it's like Spider-Man, Ghost of Tsushima, and Horizon Zero Dawn are all more or less the same kind of video game. They're open world checklists. So like it's like, okay, it's familiar IP, it's a familiar gameplay loop. It's like, this is getting old. Let's switch it up. So I'll just throw that out there.
Yeah. Okay, Josh. I am going to put us in our good game because we are already at an hour and a half. It's nutso. Maybe I need to limit this to 3 or 4 news stories. But I did have the community vote on what would be like. I put like 5 stories out there, and I want to see what they voted on most. And I put in 2 of their highest voted. I think actually 3. So we'll see. We're getting back into this, but we're gonna play a rousing round of 20 questions because the way this show goes, another thing that kind of helps separate it is we talk about the future, we talk about the present, and we talk about the past. And the past is in the good game, where it could be trivia, being over/under stat. I listened to that one recently, Josh. That one we had fun with the whole how many Dead by Daylight characters? 1,000.
am drawing a blank on that one.
Dude, it was just funny. You were like, whatever you say, over.
As long as it's not the
music one.
Oh, I suck so hard at
Yeah, and I'm going to say there was a lot of people that sent in like actual music tracks, and I'm like, if Josh is my guest this week, I'm not going to put him through that. I will save these for the next person because so what we will do...
my brain does not... Most people have a space in their brain.
You heard Breath of the Wild, and you were like... But anyway, so in that vein, Josh and I are going to do a game of 20 questions where this actually comes from Rob from the Gaming Duo podcast, who also just started their show back up this week. I have no idea how that happened. We were totally in sync, but it did. So, and in that vein, he sent a game for you to guess that I got a couple suggestions, but I think we'll see if you get it. But Josh, I'm not going to have music here. Can I have music? Can I have music?
I remember the last 20 questions. It was a quite obscure Xbox exclusive, which is a...
the one I ended the show on. Yeah, that was a hard... Well, I literally told you guys it was going to be hard. And you all picked it. And you had 5 heads. You couldn't get it. So, anyways, we're going to play a game of 20 questions. And if you are here live or watching the replay, feel free to try to guess what it is. Thanks to Josh. And Josh, I ask... for you to like try to keep the show going and to not take too long thinking of your questions. But
yeah, and I'm gonna not look at chat just in case.
Okay.
Unless is that part of the rules that chat can't like blurt out the answer? I guess.
I let's let them play on their own, and I want them to keep track for you too. But yeah, Josh. So you have 20 yes or no questions to guess what this game that Rob from the Gaming Duo podcast sent in. And I'm not going to tell you difficulty level, but I think you can get it. I do. I believe in you.
All right. Did this game come out after January 1st, 2000?
Yes.
So this millennium. Yes. Okay. Is this game an exclusive to a console?
We double checked, but I'm pretty confident no. I'm going to say no, but I'm going to double check, but I'm pretty confident the answer is no.
So that was a no.
Yeah.
Okay. So definitely not like an obvious multi-plat game then. Is this game playable on Nintendo Switch?
Yes.
Okay.
That's 3. Right, chat? Everybody keep track of me. Yes, that was 3.
This is kind of a hard question to answer. Well, it might be. I don't know, depending on how you
will do my
it.
best.
Is this an indie game?
I think I can answer. I would say yes. I'm going to say yes to this. I'll fact check, but I'm pretty sure the answer is yes to this. Yes. Yes. And yes, it to the multi-plat too. So I've been right so far.
Now, one thing they do on the Game Scoop version of this show is sometimes they ask like, is this, or this? Like they'll kind of squeeze like 3 questions into one.
Yeah,
you know?
I do that too. I do that too now.
I didn't know if that was against the rules or not, but like, is this game a platformer, a role-playing game, or a action game?
No.
Dang.
But that ruled out a lot.
That does rule out a whole lot. So not a platformer, not an action game, not a role-playing game, and it is an indie game. It's on Nintendo Switch. Is this game I'm trying to think of Switch games. I shouldn't zero in on Switch too much.
This was not a console
Did this
exclusive.
game release before the current generation? So basically, did this game come out for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One generation?
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yes, it came out before this gen.
Okay. And I would ask about multiplayer because of the show, like that's kind of a meta, but Switch is not a multiplayer focused console, but all right, what are some other genres? Is it a sci-fi game?
No. That's 7.
How many questions am I at?
You have used 7. It was released after January 1st, 2000. It is not a console exclusive. This game is on the Switch. It is an indie game. It is not a platformer, RPG, or action. It was released before this current gen, and it is not a sci-fi game.
I feel like I'm not getting very specific here.
Thank you very much, Steffi.
Is it a strategy? Some other like. Is it is it a strategy, a racing game, or
Oh no. You froze. Oh. Okay, you're
Oh.
coming back. Okay. Strategy, racing, what else?
horror was the third one?
Horror. No to all.
Dang.
No to all. Strategy, racing, horror.
Those were specific ones, yeah. Dang. Boy, oh boy.
Steffi with all caps. No.
It is kind of indie.
It is an indie game.
Okay. Is it?
I don't know what your definition of if this like independent indie or whatever. I'm putting them in somewhat the same.
Yeah, basically
area.
like not published by one of the like
a bigger. Yeah. No.
Do you play as a human in this game?
Yes. That is 9.
As a human. Is it? Are the graphics 3D?
Yes.
So much harder than it. I was watching an episode of this the other day, and I like came up with the answer, and I was like so frustrated that they couldn't get it, and now I'm on the other side.
Yeah. There's some people trying to guess with you, and they're like, I have no clue what this is. Yeah. This is a good one. Rob, if you hear this was a good one.
Okay, you do play as a human, and it is 3D. So 3D is going to get me.
Now, you said 3D, like 3D graphics. Like,
graphics.
Yeah.
Is it a shooter? I can't believe I didn't ask that. Well, hold on. Let me squeeze some other ones. Actually, no.
I mean, do whatever you want. I'm just laughing.
But I said, is it an action game? And you said no. So it's probably not a shooter.
It's a very peaceful shooter.
And it's not a strategy game either. So I was thinking like, is this game like a sim?
What do you define as a sim?
So where I was going with that was kind of like Animal Crossing-esque, like a cozy sim, like a.
I'm gonna. If you can define it a bit more, then I'll answer. but I'm gonna say that this is a soft no. This is a soft no.
Soft no.
This is not like a cozy sim. This is not like a learn how to do this or whatever. But I wouldn't hold up on this question too much. But it's a soft no.
Is this a?
I'm gonna look into the definition of a sim.
Is this a very popular game?
I'm gonna put myself in your mind to this, and I'm gonna say the answer to this is no. As you said, very subjective, but if you and I are the same wavelength, I would say the answer is no. I'll say it's a soft no, though. Like there's enough people that know of it, but popular.
All right, so kind of like the only genre I've even come close with is sim. Not a sim, but
I'm gonna look into the definition of a sim game.
And it's on Switch. It is 3D, so I mean we're not talking. It was released last gen.
I'm looking at the definition of a sim game, and this is hard.
I
don't think it's gonna help you a lot to know the answer.
Yeah, I get the feeling this is not a licensed game.
You know what? I'm gonna message. I'm gonna see if I can get a hold of Rob. Oh wait, I can't. Shit, never mind. Oh yeah, I can. I'm gonna message Rob and see his answer to that question. Let's see if he answers live during this. Anyways, keep going.
And you do play human, man. Is this a solely single-player focused game?
Yes. It is indeed single player.
Is it developed in the United States?
Let me fact check.
Actually, can I amend that to North America?
Okay. Okay.
Basically, like United States and Canada. I don't know if there are many games developed.
Yeah, let me.
In Mexico, I'm sure there are, but
Let me see, where are they located? I think yes. Yes. This game was developed in North America.
That rules out Japan, which does help some, but I still can't get to like specific. Okay, is this game a rogue? Well, man, most roguelites are 2D.
Okay, I'm just gonna say, Rob, the person that submitted the game, I asked him, and then he said, no, this is not a sim game. So there you go. I'm in agreement with him.
I feel like me imagining this game on the Switch is holding me up because I keep thinking of like all these indie games. And even though it is indie, but I mean like really indie games, I keep thinking of 2D and like pixel art graphics. Does this game take place on Earth?
Yes.
Maybe you play as a human. Maybe that already answered that, but
You have 5 left.
Oh my gosh, there's no way I'm getting this. I can't even think of, like specific games. Is this game
Hail Mary.
not a horror game? I thought I would get lucky with that one. And it is single player, solely single player, so no multiplayer involved at all. Do you play as a? Is the main character a woman?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
That should help me. We got like Tomb Raider, definitely not indie.
I kind of want the chat to like play alongside you.
I almost want to now look at chat because I feel like, did I close it?
There is a version of this where I let everybody work together and they throw a bunch of questions out. Well, actually, this is what I did for our charity stream. Like, I let them throw a bunch of questions and you guys a bunch of questions, and I would pick whichever one like felt the most helpful if the time like kept going. But I don't know. Feel free to do that or be solo.
Yeah, if there are any really good questions that I should be asking, let me know. And indie but 3D, or at least 3D graphics. And you kind of waffled a little bit on whether the game itself was 3D versus the game having 3D graphics.
I wouldn't think about that too much. I just wanted to clarify because some people, they have a weird definition of that, but it's just 3D graphics. Yeah. The most waffle thing is the sim, which Rob says no, I say soft no, but it's a no.
Like, what genres are sort of like borderline sim? There's a like
there is one question in my mind that I'm like, I don't know if that'll help him, but at least he'll know where he's going.
Because like, so not like a farming sim or like that genre is pretty much out because it's like in the name. But there's so many of those games on Switch.
Here's what I'm going to say. Those that are listening live, spam some questions. And when I feel like Josh is pretty stuck, I'm going to grab one. Also, my headset just died, so, but I'll figure this out.
Genres I was thinking of, there's like roguelites. There's like, it takes place on Earth, so it couldn't be like a space shooter or something like that.
Chad, he needs something.
Do you ever get in a vehicle in this game?
I need to remember. The answer is like there's no definitive like you get in vehicles constantly kind of a thing. So the answer to that is no. I'm just trying to think if there's like a moment you do, but I'm pretty sure no. Pretty confident that answer is no. For sure you don't do it regularly, but I'm pretty confident you never get in a vehicle. Creature, you asked a question that's already been answered. He was like, is it spooky? But you already ruled out horror, I believe, right?
Yeah, no, horror games, yeah. Yeah, question 17, man.
Is this Persona?
No, because I asked if it was a role-playing game. It's not like...
Yep.
And it's not a strategy game. Not a...
I want you to get this. I feel like you can, but it's just...
I mean, it's going to take a... I have a question that I've been wanting to ask, but if it's a no, it doesn't help me at all. If it's a yes, it will help me.
Right. It's a Hail Mary.
Well, but even if it's a yes, I can't get very specific. It's not an action game. I was going to ask, like, is it a violent game? But if it's not a horror or an action game, I feel like the odds of it being violent are low. That's why I thought Sim, something like Animal Crossing or like.
Because you're thinking out loud, I'm going to give you one. Not like just give you, but just answer your thoughts out loud because it might help. Is there violence in this game? Yes. There's a bit more to it, but yes.
There's violence and there's a bit more to it.
There's violence in the game, but I wouldn't say the game is built around the violence.
Does this game have a top-down perspective? Been wanting to ask that.
No.
Son of a gun.
So Jack, can you put down like, yes, there is violence, but it's not built around, and no, this is not a top-down. I think that puts you at one question left.
Yeah, it's not a shooter. It is on Switch. You kind of waffled a little bit with the, is it exclusive at first? It's not exclusive. But
it is not exclusive. Don't think I waffled. Like it is not exclusive when it launched.
And I'd be shocked if this game is a licensed game. For some reason, I have a hunch it's definitely not a licensed game. Most indie games aren't licensed anyways.
Fair assessment, yeah.
Beat 'em up is another one, but that is like violence is the core
right.
element of those games.
If it helps, I think everybody that's listening to this is stumped.
Yeah, again, it's not a well, I haven't asked if it's a roguelite. There's a ton of those on Switch. Takes place on Earth, so it's not again like a flying game of some kind. I didn't ask if I asked if it was sci-fi. I didn't ask if it was fantasy, but if it takes place on Earth, it's probably not. Two questions left. Is that so? If I'm at 18,
no, you're at your last one.
I might as well just have it like throw out a Hail Mary.
Yeah, at this point.
What are some popular or some mildly popular Switch games?
Okay, I need to like I shouldn't be helping you, but I need to say something. Stop thinking about the Switch. You've brought up the Switch so many times. I said before it's not exclusive. This is not like definitive around Switch. Like it's I need to say that. I shouldn't say that, but I'm gonna.
And the indie thing is that's unfortunate because I could be asking like, was it published by Ubisoft? Was it published by EA? Or that would narrow it down significantly. But indie publishers are. All right, this one is kind of a Hail Mary. Was this published by what's the company that I'm thinking of? Not Annapurna, Devolver Digital. Is this a Devolver Digital game?
No. Okay.
That's game. Right there.
That's game. That's game. So I don't think you're gonna get this. Feel free to just throw something out, but
a random game set on Earth for all consoles that is indie and mildly popular. Not a role-playing game.
Not popular. Yeah.
Yeah.
Enough people know about it though, but yeah. That was a soft no.
Single player. I was thinking of games I've played recently.
I'm gonna say you aren't gonna get this, and I'm gonna throw you a couple things just to see if anybody can get this based off the hints. So Steffi guessed Solar Ash. It is not Solar Ash, but I'd like to see what other people guess. It was not Devolver Digital, but you did say the publisher, Annapurna.
Stray?
It's not Stray. But good guess. But that's human. Remember?
Oh, yeah, that's right. And I think that was published by Annapurna.
That was published by Annapurna. The sim question, I was like, you walk around as a person, but I don't consider that sim and whatnot. And the violence is like, it's not part of the game. It's more so that it's part of the story because of what this character sees.
So I was going to ask if it was an adventure game, and they've probably published quite a few of those.
Now
I'm drawing a blank on Annapurna games. For some reason, I like Devolver. I can remember a few, but 12 minutes.
No, but good guess. But that's top down. I would have said yes because that's top down.
Oh yeah.
My last hint is it is an incredible. This is just general hint. It is an incredibly short game. Like you could get it done under 4 hours easily, and it is incredibly story driven. And it's first person, and you play as a woman going to learn about her family.
Oh,
Steffi.
What remains of Edith Finch?
Steffi got it. It was What Remains of Edith Finch.
Dang.
Good job, Steffi. I mean, with the hints and everything, but
I should have gotten that one, man. That's a very well-known game.
Like, but would you say that's popular? You know,
No.
Yeah. Like that's why I was like enough people know about it, but I wouldn't say it's popular. You know,
well known but not popular. Yeah, like that's a game. I feel like I should have gotten that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, this is a good pick. It's like it's mainstream enough that Josh should be able to get it, I think. Like, I don't know if he will, but I believe he would.
I was floating around with the idea of should I ask if it's a narrative-based game? That would have been like, boom, yes.
That's what I was waiting for. I was really waiting for you to go like, would you say this is really story-driven? I was like, yes. But, yeah, it was like the general questions were sticking around for a while, but
that's a tough game, man. 20 questions with one brain. It's hard.
I love it. Like, we did it before, but I hope to figure out a way that like I could partake and then so on and so forth. We'll figure that out. But that was a great submission from Rob from the Gaming Duo. And we better wrap this up because it's been a long show, but I hope you enjoyed this. I will be working on making some time codes for it. And if you didn't know, the show is now on Spotify, Josh. I don't know if you knew that, but you can listen to old episodes if you want. So,
so how long? Really quick, how long has it been since you've done one of these, or have you been doing
Codename Good Games specifically? Because I've had collab streams that were much more focused on a topic, but Codename Good Game, we did the charity stream. I want to say in like November. I want to say November of 2022. So it's been nearly 2 years. But yeah. Good game, everyone. So Josh is in the description if you do want to check out his channel, but also you can find him on Twitter and Instagram. And you're doing your own thing currently, but feel free if you have any messages before we go and chat. Just thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you. But yeah, Josh, any final comments?
Yeah, just thanks for having me. Thanks to everyone in the chat for participating. This was definitely a lot of fun, and I hope so. Like I mentioned, when we were chatting offline earlier, my schedule on Fridays is often booked at this time, but I would love to come back. This was a lot of fun. So I will make time in the future to come back at some point. Absolutely. Hey. So don't be a stranger. And as far as my YouTube channel, I haven't posted there in like 2 years, but I'm considering it. So if that happens, I will let you know. Probably be something Assassin's Creed related if I post something.
I saw you considering that. Yep. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for watching and listening. Let us know if your thoughts didn't make it in from the submission form. Stay tuned next week. Maybe some of those will carry over. I'll have another submission form for next week because we are back at this, baby. I need to figure out how to make these shorter. So we are learning. We are back. But I hope you enjoyed listening if you were grinding in your game, and I hope you have a good weekend and week. We will talk to you later. Bye-bye.